So I just saw a news story come through my feed, and this is stuff I've seen on social media, some scuttlebutt in the mainstream media about it, of a bunch of fans are accusing Hugh Jackman and Henry Cavill of promoting unhealthy body standards. And here's what I'm going to say on that, because to me that's ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, they're lean. They get lean for their roles, and you obviously have to diet down a bit for that, and that's relatively difficult to maintain year-round. I think definitely for most people, but it's not impossible, and it's certainly not unhealthy. Okay, and the other thing is, number two, these guys are not even that big. They're not even that big. It's not like they're walking around bodybuilder size. Okay, they're both under 200 pounds. They're not mass monsters using large amounts of anabolics or anything. And I'm not saying that they aren't using anything. It's Hollywood. But to stand there and claim that these are unhealthy or unobtainable body standards is absolutely ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous. And I'm saying that as a 47-year-old coach. I coach people for a living. I do this at almost 50 years old. I'm sorry, that's insane. And here's the problem with this idea. All right? Here's the problem with this idea. We live in a society to where we have an enormous obesity epidemic that is killing us. What are the three leading causes of death in the U.S.? And when we say the three leading, meaning any one of these three exceed the death rate of everything else below that, combined together. I want to be clear. So these are something like 90+% of deaths in America are caused by cardiovascular disease of one type or another, like stroke and heart attack and all that. It actually sometimes gets placed in two separate categories because it's so high. But cardiovascular disease, number one. And then cancers and diabetes. That's unhealthy. And what is one of the largest contributing factors to all three? Obesity. Obesity and bad diet. And being sedentary. All some of the most enormous factors. Those factors exceed genetics, by the way. Where anyone says, it's just my genes. Genes matter. But those things will way surpass your genetics in terms of just probability. Okay? When these are the leading causes of death and poor health, right? These things are exceeding all other health concerns. So if we're going to use the terms unhealthy, well, right there. There's unhealthy. For people to be fit is promoting unhealthy. Let's keep in mind, I get when they used to get upset at wayfish standards and models for women. Okay? Being excessively thin, being a health concern. Yes, absolutely. But that doesn't even exist anymore, and here's why. The average obesity rate is high enough that the health risks of that actually exceed the health risk of those wayfishly thin women. All right, we're no longer at a point where people say, well, that's just as... No, it's not. Not the obesity rates we're now reaching. No, it's no longer just as unhealthy. It's unhealthy, but it's not at that level. So to be fair, if we were going to even go back and address that old standard that's pushed even towards the ladies, I don't know that that's even true anymore. Because realistically, to be 250 pounds, which is we're seeing everywhere, for the ladies is probably statistically worse for your health than being the underweight models. Okay, so let's come over and talk about men. What's the only concern with these men with the body standards? Well, it might push them towards some anabolics. Okay. Anyone seen the long-term studies on any of that? The risk of even moderate use of those substances in terms of mortality is probably lower than morbid obesity. If we go only off the data, let's instead of saying probably, if we go purely upon the limited research we have on it, It's not probably, it is less risky. We actually have very, very little data actually showing significant shortening of lifespan. Like what we would think of, again, I'm not talking about a little bit, but something like shaving 20 years off someone's life, we're not seeing that. And before people talk about pro bodybuilders, keep in mind pro bodybuilders aren't just using those, they're using 37 different things at doses sometimes 20 times what's ever been tested in a human. Okay, that's a different world. That's not the same thing. So even if people want to say, well, maybe their physiques, because they probably are maybe using a little bit of stuff, okay, I won't disagree with that. I don't think Hollywood transformations are natural. Right, the time frames they work with, the lifestyles, and so on, there's usually a little bit of stuff. Yeah, absolutely. But even then, let's set that aside, because a lot of those physiques could be obtained natural if they lived that lifestyle seriously, but a lot of them don't. If the issue is the time frames in which they pull it off, yeah, that's usually not natural. They do it 5 times faster than you would really be able to do it. And no, having the best trainers will not fix that. So again, biological limitations. All right, but so the standards themselves, though, actually usually could be obtained naturally. So then what is our concern? Like, what is our unhealthy body standard then? If a person sees that and says, I want to obtain that and spend the next 10 years working on it, and they do it naturally, are we concerned that they lived on chicken and vegetables and brown rice? Are we concerned that they worked out 4 times a week? Okay, you guys see the problem? That's not unhealthy. It's not like these guys are pushing massive amounts of muscle mass. It's not like they're even getting contests ripped by bodybuilding standards, which can be a concern. The only negative health concerns could be that the time frames they're doing it in would require some magical supplements usually. But when we compare that to the general population, I mean, compare that to drinking alcohol recreationally, compare that to being morbidly obese, it's a lower risk. So where's the unhealthy? So let's even pull that out of the equation then. Where's the unhealthy body standard? Oh no, we're concerned people are going to eat fruits and vegetables and whole grains and lean protein, and they're going to work out 4 days a week. Because none of those physiques require you to train every day. I have never seen any of those Hollywood physiques short of The Rock. But you, Jackman, I mean, do anybody really think you got to train for 3 hours a day to be there? Are you delusional? That's like a 30-minute workout body. I mean, if you do it long enough, come on. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.